And good morning, everybody, wherever you are and however you may be listening. Welcome to the Wednesday wrap-up. I am here with my guys, Mr. Yu and Herb. How you doing, gentlemen?
Fantastic, man.
Ready to be rolling. Ready to get this rolling.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you're watching, be sure to grab some coffee. It's early, really, wherever you are.
Absolutely.
All right. So, obviously, a lot happened over this last week. Mainly the NFL draft, but of course, you know, other sports are happening. But we want to light this thing off with Shedeur Sanders. I swear he's trying to get hurt. Like that's really what the path he is on. I mean, he just doesn't know when to wrap it up. So they end up having one of their 5-star corners leave the team. Right now, this is a 5-star recruit, right? Which means you're not a scrub, right? Like you don't get a 5-star tag on accident, right? Like you got a lot of good tape out there. And so you got Xavier Smith. He jumps in the portal. He leaves. And then, there was some shots taken from him to the program, some from him to Dion himself. Stuff like that. So he's like, you never tried to get to know me. He was destroying that guy's confidence. That I could believe, right? Based on videos we've seen from the outside, Dion coaches hard, right? And to the wrong guy, especially if you're a little bit sensitive about it, it might be rough. But then Shedeur comes out. Now, mind you, this is a corner. He may see him this season.
Right.
He's like, I don't even remember him. To be honest, bro had to be very mid at best. Man, like you are just asking for people to come rip your head off. Yeah, I mean, there will be guys that will be fine missing a game if it means you're going to miss a game, right? So it's I don't know. What do you guys feel on this? Everything I've seen from Shedeur. He needs to find some humility because otherwise it's going to get delivered to him.
Yeah. It's like they're enjoying being like the villains of college football, and everything that comes out next.
You got to at least win.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. If I'm coming off a 4-win season, man, I'm just keeping my mouth shut and getting ready to play. We're acting like they're the defending champs, and there's a lot you take, like to your point, from winners. You win the whole thing. Yeah, you can talk your trash, whatever, but you didn't win your division. You didn't win like your conference. You didn't go to a bowl. Like, I don't get where all of this is coming from, and I know a lot of people that they used to be behind the whole Dion thing that are at some point like, hey man, can y'all just win some games? Like what about the on the field stuff? Rather than we talk way more about their off the field than we do on their on the field.
Well, there's nothing to talk about on the field. The only thing we were talking about last year was how they didn't play defense very well and had 0 running game.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe get a complete team and win some games. And I don't know, like when you think of the NFL, right? The teams that make a lot of noise, what do they do that coming season? Nothing. They do nothing because every team is like, okay. The last thing you want is your self-proclaimed number 1 overall pick coming up this next year to get hurt, right? Because again, those types of things don't necessarily sit well, and they don't even sit well in your own locker room sometimes. Right. Because if you are, if a guy wants to leave, and now you're like, oh yeah, he was mid at best. I mean, guys on your old line may be like, oh, is he talking trash behind our back? Like all of a sudden it could be the longest yard where somebody's like, oh, I missed a block. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence they had 78 transfers in 2 years. You can put that all on Dion and his coaching if you want to, but we talked about it since I think it was before the season even started. Or the whole Colorado Buffaloes extravaganza begun, we were talking about it. We were talking about the word culture, and it's like it feels like it's not getting solved. Even if he coaches hard, that's not really a problem. I'm good with that. that kind of environment that fosters toughness and strong work ethic. I'm good with that stuff.
Sure.
But when leaders of the team happen to be father and son, and the son doesn't get critiqued anywhere near what everybody else does, it doesn't seem like to me, anyways. It's like and your son's the one that's talking. He's a leader. He's talking almost without any kind of boundaries. He can almost say whatever he wants to say because his dad's the coach. It's the epitome of nepotism, and it's like it doesn't have any room in football. And it's a hard thing. Anybody on that team is marginal in their talent. What are they thinking right now?
Yeah.
And like you said, to your point, Bo, about people going to the portal, what are they thinking? It's like you already got a schism in this group before it even gets to whatever heights it could potentially be. And what happens when he's gone? What happens when Sanders does get drafted? It's still going to be bad. Maybe not as bad, but still going to be bad because you haven't developed the kind of culture people want to come there and play, and they're going to be fostered like young men should, and have the kind of father figures and discipline you need to have in football and whatever. It's like you be made a mess, and that this young kid can go out here with his father probably still in his ear, decide and stuff where they're going to, what team they're going to get drafted to, who can be his coach. I mean, how many calls is Deion going to make outside of the Colorado Buffaloes? This is just a hot mess, man. It's bad.
Yeah.
Well, and his dad is going to be, I mean, if he goes number one.
Don't say that.
No, I'm just saying, if he does, I'm going to go with a lot of it has to do with Deion Sanders, right? Being on the phone and lobbying these teams that he used to play for and has relationships with and all of that. Like, I think that's a very real thing. Now, if he comes out next year, it's not a great quarterback class, so he may be the first one off the board, I guess. I don't think he's number one overall pick, but maybe he's the first quarterback because it's not a deep quarterback class. I mean, that's entirely possible, right. I suppose. But, I mean, as a GM, do you want the baggage that comes with a Shedeur Sanders? Do you want Deion? Do you want that much Deion around your thing?
Right.
I mean, it makes me think of the LeVar Ball situation, right?
Yeah.
Like at some point, you got to be like, okay, Dad, like, get away from me. I got to try and do this thing. Right now, I don't see that happening with Shedeur.
No.
I haven't seen anything where he's just able to stop talking and play. Like
right.
I haven't seen that yet. Hopefully it happens, but I haven't seen that yet.
I remember when the Deion comments first came out about like what teams, and I was like, man, I want to hear from Shedeur. And now that he started talking, I was like, okay, maybe less from Shedeur. Maybe that's why he wasn't talking. Maybe that's why it was all his dad.
You know? The thing that's funny about that is I wanted to hear about him on that front, right? Because then maybe there was some useful information, but he's just out here causing problems.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
ripping former teammates is not going to go well.
If you're going to jump in front of the camera, say something useful. Don't just get in front of the camera to get in front of the camera. So, right. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't even know. I mean, when we seen, all of us seen the NFL for quite a while, decades even. So we all know kind of how it works. We have to be in the uniform to know how it works. Could you imagine? I mean, what team could you imagine that would take him on and to be the leader of their team and see how he talks when you got an open mic in front of him?
Oh, Panthers.
I mean, I don't think the Panthers even want that, bro.
No.
I mean, it's like you're not a good role model in this in this setting. And it's like I don't know how that avoids get on your scouting report. You know what I'm saying? Because that's part of it too. It's about character. If a guy is just a speedster, elite, 50-50 ball catcher, runs routes, everything, but he's off field life, it's kind of jacked. That's on your scouting report. That makes a difference in where you go, and you might fall. So the idea of that whole number one thing, I don't know how you ignore all that stuff and say, this guy is my number one quarterback on my whiteboard here in my draft, in my war room. I don't know how you do that because he brings so many problems, more problems you probably want on a team that's probably already struggling anyways, or they would be picking, so high. You know what I'm saying? You want that kind of drama in there, plus his dad on top of that?
Yeah.
I feel sorry for his brother.
Right.
I want to change my name.
Yeah. Who you hardly ever hear from right now. So
yeah, I mean, what's he feeling like? What's going to happen with him when he goes into the draft and stuff? It's too much residual impact with all that's going on, man. It's a bad look all across the board, man.
Oh yeah. And to one of your earlier points too, man, you look at when he first came in, he flipped the roster. You're like, okay, they only won one game. I see it, right? But to continually do that as a thing, like they've already had 34 transfers in, 41 transfers out. Like you don't really build a culture because you're not thinking, all right, here's the guy. That's why it's easier to rip guys going out because you're like, barely know these people anyway. And I just feel like at the beginning I was fine with it. I was like, okay, the roster was terrible when you got there. But at some point, are you building a team or are you just going to try to do this every year? Like, it just doesn't make sense, And it's not even like he's going and getting the high-profile guys. He's getting kind of whoever is available at that time. But, I mean, you grab 2 running backs and then 2 running backs leave. Like, are those 2 much better than what you had and sacrificing the continuity that's on the team? So, I don't know.
I don't think there is any continuity is the problem. I mean, you flip the roster, which I agree with too, right? You're a 1-win team. Absolutely. Right. You blow everybody out. Plus it's your first year as a coach. So if you're going to make a big splash, that's the year you have the most latitude to do whatever you want. Right. That's why I'm never mad at it when coaches do it in the NFL too. They come in, they blow everything up. It's like, well, yeah, it's the only time you have, the most amount of flexibility to just go do all the things, right? Because you're probably not getting fired your first year unless you're, a Panthers coach or something. But then you're only making it, half the season anyway. But going into the next year, it seems like you'd want to retain some talent. Now, the guys that are leaving, now you look at it as, okay, are they leaving because they're not getting playing time? Are they leaving because of the culture they've experienced already? Right? Like, is that what they're not about?
Right.
Which, probably. It's probably that.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like they're leaving. And these are, because we've both experienced it, especially like in higher profile when your coaches leave, I'm sure you kind of knows this as well as I do. You get that kind of flux, but he's getting it and players are upset on the way out, and it's like I don't get it. I don't get how this is sustainable. I don't know what it bodes for your future, but that's not the kind of roster turnover you want every year. And then, like you said, we didn't want that. I know neither one of our teams is like, I want to lose anybody. You know what I mean? Yeah. But half the times at the bigger teams, you're losing depth pieces. I'm not going to get to start. I'm going to go somewhere to start where somebody's going to give me money. With him, he's just losing
starters.
Everything. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
No, like I get it if you were – say you're like that 4th string guy, right? And you got some veterans in front of you that you're not going to unseat. Yeah, I could see jumping in the transfer portal. Sure, right? Because you want to play. But, I mean, to have starters be like, yeah, this place is whack, I'm out.
Right.
Like that, right. That's not awesome.
Right.
No, not at all. You got all this chatter and stuff. I mean, I'm sure those are the only one that was talking. There was some other issues with other players like Travis Hunter. There were other people that were saying stuff too. So it wasn't like he was the only one, but he just seems to be like he has carte blanche, and that's not a good thing to be the lead, like I said, and to be the son of the coach. I read an article where he was talking smack about players that went to Power 5 schools. I guess that supposed to make everybody feel sorry for him that he didn't have that same type of opportunity. He named guys like Texas Quinn Ewers, Kyler Murray, Jalen Milroe from Alabama, Jalen Hurts, Jackson Smith from the Jigba, and I think Baker Mayfield. So he was like, he not only poisoned the pool in college, you already extend to the NFL, or you already insulting NFL players who have actually done something in their careers. So it's like, where else can you go? The CFL? I mean, we run out of options. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's kind of an example of what you shouldn't be doing in as a football player. I share with you guys about my grandson and him playing football, and he hates when I talk about him on the show, but I'm gonna keep doing it because that's what I do. Because watching YouTube of people just like this is what he's watching before he started playing middle school football.
Oh, okay.
He's watching these kind of videos of this, of Shador, and he would tell me about it. I'm like, and who's that? What has he done? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You need to learn routes and X's and O's, not watching the highlight reels. People making flashy catches and doing touchdown dances.
Yeah.
He was offended by that. Haven't talked football since, and that was like 2 years ago. So it's like, so it's like that. So that's the culture that's going on around us. Even if you don't have it, you still see it. You know what I'm saying? It's like this guy just perpetuating it more and more. And you're making folks, we should hate football because of him, but it's something about football that we hate. It's this kind of stuff right here.
Well, I mean, it's the attitude that I think rubs people the wrong way. It has nothing to do with the player themselves. I mean, because you've seen it around the league. I mean, you even hear about it with, the number 1 overall pick this year with Caleb Williams, right? That there were people within the Bears organization, player-wise, that are like, man, we're already tired of, he needs to stop talking.
Right.
Right? He hadn't even got there yet. Like he got drafted a few days ago, and I mean those things were coming out before he got in the room.
Yeah.
Like that is not awesome. So it's and it's because he kept running his mouth as, we're not going to sign the rookie deal. We want more money than that, which I don't even know how you think you're going to do that because you have a collective bargaining agreement.
Right.
And then, we want to be part of the ownership group and, all of these things. It's like, dude, you need to calm down. Like first we got to see if you can play in the NFL. I feel like that's an important piece of this.
I know that we all think about this. I'm thinking about it more and more now. Maybe it's just me. I'm wondering what's true and what's not true with what I'm reading.
No. Like some of these are like he's on video saying these things. Like this isn't just like hearsay by Barstool Sports or something, right? Like this is one of them was a video of him being interviewed by Ryan Clark. Pretty reputable guy, right? Yeah. And so the clip is hilarious. Like had I known I was going to talk about it, I would have brought the clip in because it's Ryan Clark is sitting there and the look on his face is
funny. Yeah,
like, dude, you're dumb. Right.
Yeah, now I want to see it now.
It's worth a watch because I mean he's just like so you deliberately went to Oklahoma knowing there was a projected first round quarterback coming back to the start and you were upset that you didn't get the start. And he's like, yeah. He's like, that one hurt a lot. And he's like, but you deliberately went somewhere that had a projected first round pick and then you were mad you didn't start. He's like, well, I was the best. It's like, obviously not. Like, what are we even talking about? But yeah, so I mean, it's actually a pretty good interview. The problem with it is when you watch it, you're just like, dude, this is your guy. Like, he's the most Bears guy ever.
Wow. Compliment?
No. Sure wasn't. But I mean, it's hopefully he can play. I mean, obviously the Bears gave him a ton of weapons.
They are talented out there.
Yes.
Excuses are out the window, man.
That's it. And even
on the line, bro.
That's the thing is they even did address a little bit of the offensive line, right? Like they go get a tackle. As I recall, in free agency, I think they grabbed a guard. So I mean, the Bears should be a good team. Now they're in a tough division,
right?
Because I mean, the Lions are coming back. Lions had a decent draft. Green Bay has shown that they're coming on. I'm still not a huge believer in them, but hey, last year, end of the season, they came together. And then the Vikings actually have a decent team. I mean, they won a lot of games last year with the most ridiculous hodgepodge of quarterback play you could think of, right? They're just like, oh, you can hold a football? Cool, you're a quarterback today. Yep. So, I mean, and they still won some games. So, I mean, that's going to be a tough division for them to have a ton of success in. But, yeah, I don't know, because as much as he's already talking, I feel like there's already a lot of players in the NFL that's like, oh, I'm going to be the one to give him that welcome to the NFL moment.
Right. And it's not like he's coming off. I mean, he's not coming off a Pac-12 championship, a playoff berth. His Heisman was a year ago. Yeah. I mean, it was like your worst season to come off of and want to talk. I understand they drafted him for the talent, but it's not like he was riding a high and then went in there. It's like I could forgive some of this stuff. I'm not really a trash talker, so I don't really like any of it, but I can at least understand some of it if you're riding a high. But you're like, got beat up, had your worst season. There's no playoff berths for you ever. No Pac-12 championships.
Yep.
What? So you were just talking to talk now? I don't get
Yeah,
it.
I mean, it's like you got absolutely murdered all game, but you made one good play, and you're doing this name on the back stuff. You're like, dude, you need to pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, you
because
still lost
we
by
have,
30.
5 other minutes of you getting smoked.
Yeah. That team is talented though, man. I think the only problem they had in the draft, but they picked a punter in round 4, and nobody figured out why that happened. I'm like,
Yeah.
all the needs you guys got,
You know
feel
exactly
like
why that
punter
happened.
was kind of high on the list of things that you needed. I'm like, no,
I mean, you know exactly why that happened, though.
I don't know why they picked a punter in round 4. Tell me why.
So to be fair, best punter in college football. So
Okay.
he has that. But
these are the faces of two people that are like, nah.
I mean, like, man, the best in the country in college.
I mean, unless he's also going to do some quarterbacking.
The punchline, and
it's this next part. The Bears probably aren't going to be great at first, and he's going to get a lot of action.
Come on.
Do you even have a scouting department for the punters, or do you just like pick a name or go by some college rankings? Like,
I mean, yeah, I mean, you go by.
Do they get a pro day?
So, they probably actually do go to a pro day, but I mean, he ended up, setting a college record for punt yards and stuff. So one, awesome, right? Because you set the record, and but also terrible because that means your team wasn't terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably some punters on some really good teams that you just never know about if they're any good or not.
Exactly, and I mean, that's one of the things that I think the Bears run into initially is there's going to be kind of a bumpy start, right? Because you got a rookie quarterback. Some of your offensive line has rookie pieces in it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there could be a little bit of a learning curve as Caleb Williams tries to get up to speed with the NFL. But yeah, to your point, like I didn't love all the talk coming off of the year that he had. Like if it was last year, or the year before, whatever, however you want to say it, then sure, I could get with that, right? Like he had an amazing year, awesome. But then you go into last year and wasn't a great year, lost to every good team, basically. And, it's just, I guess the biggest thing I worry about and why I think he has the most bust potential is I see a lot of Ryan Leaf type things happening, right? Where you have all the tools in the toolbox to be successful. But it's the mental fortitude between the ears that I have the biggest concern on, because he thinks he's the man and hasn't received a snap yet. One of the things that I know I don't have it to load it, but there was an offensive assistant talking about Caleb Williams. It's reported by The Athletic. He says he gives off a Russell Wilson vibe with a lack of self-awareness that I'm kind of above everybody. Now, I don't know which organization that was from, but man, like that's not the comparison you want before you step on the field.
Yeah, especially as a quarterback. All eyes are already on you. So, I kind of expect that more from like my wide receivers. They're supposed to be a little more diva-ish and talking and wanting the attention. But quarterback, you just need to come in and be humble and play, because that's the position you're getting your head knocked off. So
now I'm now hearing this greatly concerns me, because now we were talking about Shedeur Sanders a little while ago.
Yep.
And what would happen, or I felt like it was almost nearly impossible for him to be number one pick for a lot of these same reasons.
But he can be.
This happen?
That's why I made this segue, is because he could be exactly this.
Yeah. But I'll say this, at least Caleb Williams had a Heisman behind him when he did it and winning seasons at USC.
Exactly.
Shedeur does not have that.
He also has the shortest leash in history, because I think his leash is going to be shorter than anybody we ever seen at quarterback because they loaded him up from the beginning.
Yeah.
So almost like he has an expectation on him that's like unlike anything else that we've seen yet. And now he's got this other outside of the box stuff going on coming out of his mouth.
I mean,
Chicago's a hard place to play when things ain't going well.
That is for sure.
It can change it, man.
Well, and if it doesn't go well, it's going to get even harder because you are sitting with a coach that should have been fired last year, right? So if you get all these toys out on the field and it doesn't go well, and let's be honest, there's a high probability it's not going to be great, right? Well, now all of a sudden, Eberflus gets fired, which usually means the rest of the regime gets fired. That's new for this year also. So, I mean, he could have one of those Baker Mayfield, you got a new OC, new coaching staff, every year kind of thing. And no quarterback does well in that scenario, right? Like I've never seen anybody excel like, oh, cool, another new playbook. Thanks, guys. Like 0 times does that work out.
I know you guys haven't dug into it. And I don't think we even talked about it at all, but do you guys think that Eberflus is a good coach? I'm asking that for a reason.
No,
I'm talking about the period. Forget what kind of weapons he has. Is he a good coach? Have you seen that pedigree?
No, that's why I thought he was going to get fired. Like I literally thought he should have been fired just based on everything we saw out of the Bears last year. Because we still don't know if Justin Fields is going to be any good. Like he could be. We don't know. He was running for his life all the time and getting killed. Now, I'm not a Fields believer, right? Like I'm not that guy that's going to be banging the sign for him on the corner, but you also have to be upright to complete passes.
Right. And have some people to complete passes too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean,
aren't you mad if you're Justin Fields looking at what they're doing for Caleb Williams? You're like,
oh, you'd be heated.
I'm like, I was the number 1 pick. What happened to me?
Yeah.
I'd be ticked off. Are they on the same schedule this season? Are still playing the Bears? Because that's going to be fun.
I actually don't know. That would be awesome.
But yeah, just because you guys don't feel like he's a good coach, I'm like, this can't possibly go well. Could you see him 3 years in that same spot? I don't see how.
Well, no,
he barely made it this year. So it's like,
if it goes awry, he's done after this year.
And staff is going with him more than likely. So it's like he's starting over again with all these guys. Keenan Allen, he's not a spring chicken anymore. And you got him out here on a new team, and
he doesn't need to be though, because he gets to be wide receiver 3, which he can still definitely do.
Nope.
I mean, he still runs a clean route. He may not be as fast as he used to be, but you don't have to be wide receiver 3.
I thought about speed, it's about durability.
Well, yeah, but you're also not getting your first overall. Plus, I mean, let's be honest, you don't get blasted over the middle the way you used to either. Like they're not allowed to hit you. In fact, he might even do really well because you're not allowed to hit people at all.
No hitting, no tackling, but otherwise you're fine.
And then they're on that note, did you see the covers that they were using in preseason?
I did, man.
They're approved for in-game use. I guess they better paint some logos on them. I guess, right? Is that what we're doing? Because
is that what those things were? I saw pictures. I had no idea what was going on, and I was scared to look.
When are we getting the flags?
Man, it's coming.
That's my next question. When the flags coming? Because that's kind of where we're going, right?
It's going to be like the spring game. All right, if you just touch the quarterback, he's down.
got pillow helmets coming out.
Two-hand touch.
Pillow helmets. I mean, like the flags is like it's like.
Oh, it's right there. Yeah,
the quarterback will just wear a different color jersey.
Yeah,
are they wear bumpers too on the sides when they run into somebody, they bounce off them? Is that where we at?
Yes. Get the inflatable balls. Yeah. To be fair, I'd probably still watch that.
I probably would. Yeah. The quarterback is going to have to declare himself as a runner, so then he's not, just two-hand touch anymore. Then you actually have to tackle him. That's what's going to happen. He's going to do the whole thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay, this might be a run play.
That then just thought of a deeper question. What can the NFL do to make you not watch anymore? I remember back when we had all the scandals. People said, "Man, I'm tired of NFL. I'm quitting." And people did it. People didn't come back. Matter of fact, they're on our Twitter pages. They won't come back to the NFL for nothing. They're done with it. That wasn't the majority of people. But what could the NFL do to make you not come back? Now, I ain't trying to hijack the show. I'm just
no. I mean,
think about.
That's
I don't know
that's
what
a
to do
real
here.
question. Man, if it legitimately became flag football, which they're trying out in the Pro Bowl, right? So it's not like it's not like it's not on the table.
Don't do it.
It's not like it's not on the table, but that would make me stop watching it.
Yeah,
100%. I'm just like, yeah, that's cool. I can go watch some rec league stuff. Like, I don't need to. Now, I'd be sad if they went that route because, man, I put a lot of time into turning this into a career. I'd hate to see it blow up like that. You're like, yeah, you know how I talk about football? Yeah, we don't.
Baseball talk with Bo.
Yeah. It would be like vintage football talk with. We're just going through film of when the sport didn't suck. So
Herb and Rod got a chance because they probably could stay in college and maybe hopefully be unaffected. They probably can hang out in college a little bit more. I probably have to do the same thing too on Mondays. But
by the time that happens, there'll only be 2 conferences in college, so we'll just have to cover those two super conferences, and then linemen are a thing of the past. So you.
Oh, there he is. Now he's frozen. There you are.
See, for me, I just haven't been talking when I freeze, so I see it freeze all the time, and I'm like, oh, this is frustrating. But I haven't been talking any of the times.
No, it's funny. You actually haven't been freezing on our end.
I think that's because every time I'm sitting like this.
Oh, I mean,
you gotta blink,
really possible.
You're gonna blink, though.
Like you're just practicing for freezing up. You're like, no one will notice.
Because I've seen it like 5 times. I'm like, oh, this is.
I'm looking
for
for
internet issues and live shows. It's just the worst.
Oh yeah. Now, anytime the signal is spotty, that's where you're like, oh, pre-recorded would have been cool today.
Yeah.
So to not neglect our comment section, what's happening, Raj?
Good morning, Rajo.
And my mom checking in. But yeah, no. I mean, if they were to do flag football, that legitimately would make me not watch anymore.
That's the only reason.
If they really started with specific rules, like we're joking about it, but the quarterbacks are less and less hittable like every year. Yeah. So if they kept along that, that would start to get that way. Getting at a point where you remove more physicality. Like I said, I was joking about it, but linemen kind of getting out of the game. Like if you're not going to have hitting and stuff like that, why do I need these big guys? Yeah, you're kind of more like that. So
yeah.
They have to really. I mean, it's a choice to play football. Like we're sitting here joking about it. Like I would never play because the first time I get hit, I'd be out. But they do choose to play, and they do, make a lot of money for it. So there's only so much you can take out of the game, And that's not to lessen it, but it is a choice.
And, I mean, like some of them I get, right? Like getting rid of the helmet-to-helmet contact. I get it, right? Like that, fair enough.
Because that protects both people. I get that part.
Absolutely. I mean, concussions are an issue. I can get down with all that.
That makes sense.
Things like what they're doing now, where you can't do the hip drop, right? Well, if you got a running back that is 250 pounds and runs a 4.4, and you are a 185-pound corner. And dude is by you because you're coming from the other side. What's the only tackle you're going to get him to the ground on? Because if you go high, he's going to carry you. He literally squats 600 pounds. My buck 85 ain't going to do it.
You'll be on ESPN that night on all the.
You're just going for a piggyback ride. Right? So then, exactly, and you can't go low, right? Like you can't go low. You're not allowed to do that anymore. So the only thing you can do from behind is to come in and wrap up around the waist, and then you got to try and pull him to the ground.
Right.
You're not trying to land on his legs. It's just his legs are underneath it, right? Yeah. And so in that scenario, where can you tackle him? You're either going to take out a knee because you're technically not low at that point, right? So what? You're telling me that the ACL, because you blasted him with a shoulder on the ACL, is different than the potential ankle injury that happens almost never? Like, what are we doing here? Right. So it's, I don't know. It becomes very hard for defenses to actually be able to make a play. Like you've already stacked the deck, making plays easier for the offense, and now you're making it so the defense can't tackle. Like, like what are we doing?
Yeah, it's not cute. Yeah, I'm just wondering what the game's going to become because the way we're training them, like when I seen those caps, I was like, it's just the kind of what I want to watch. I'm wondering about this. Like, I'm like, just where I want to. I want to hit or helmet to helmet and head injuries. That's not what I'm saying, but it's like, where are we going?
It's just it's a very reactive league right now. And it's like, okay, Mark Andrews got hurt on this tackle. Let's get rid of it. Are we going to look at all the stats and everything for it? No. We just saw a major player in a major game get hurt on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
kind of what happened.
Versus
no,
looking at.
No, exactly. It's
right.
and it's not like it's a high percentage type of tackle anyway, right? I mean, it was if I remember right, it was like 1% of all the tackles last year.
It was 0.1%.
Yeah, right. And then of that 0.1, there was 20% of them ended up in some sort of injury, not necessarily extensive time loss, but like, someone got hurt on. So you're telling me 20% of a 0.1 tackle, that's a point of emphasis? Like what are we doing here? I mean, and it's not like I'm advocating for people to get hurt. Obviously you don't want them to, but it is also a dangerous sport. Like every time I stepped on the field, I was like, okay, injuries are part of this thing, right? Like you watch people get hurt all the time. I got hurt a bunch. It happens. And then you get better and you step back on the field. Yeah. What's that?
The owners are running out of stuff to talk about at their owners meeting. I think they're running out of topics at their owners meetings. Yeah. Trying to find something to have a discussion about. Nothing else you guys talk about. Nothing else you see. It's important. You guys can just like money. Can't discuss nothing else.
Could they talk about maybe having a designated driver for their guys so that they're not getting locked up? I mean,
maybe team gets a Carmine. I mean, yeah, there we go. There we go.
I never understand that one, by the way.
Maybe
they can talk about, but they don't. Talk about that.
Maybe train your players not to race on the freeway and then like leave a crash site.
Yeah.
Protect your players.
That thing is with that much money, there's places you could go. Like, hey, pay somebody this much money, take a car, go out, race to your heart's content.
It's called rent a track.
Yeah.
I know renting the track would have been cheaper than the tickets they're going to get.
Thank you.
I mean, you can full on rent a track for the day for like,
thank you,
$2,500 or something.
Yeah. Versus the cost of your career.
The crash is more than that.
Yeah.
Not having NFL make me sad, but
I don't get these guys.
But this is, I don't understand what's happening though. This is uncharted territory for me. I'm like, where are we going? Those caps, that's not gonna do it.
No, so it was funny because they've been great timing on that.
They're gonna wear soundproofing material on their heads. You've been in the studio before? I've been in the studio hundreds of times.
It doesn't cover.
It's like, I know, but it's like that's what it's made of. It's like soundproofing material. That ain't gonna stop no hits.
No, but it does because it's a second layer of padding. I mean, they've been using it in practice for the last 2 years, right? So basically, it's incidental head contact, whatever, right? Now, will it lessen? They're saying that having that on can lessen the opportunity of a concussion. I think it was like 20% or something. Which
what kind of hits I'm talking about, man.
But like if you're spearing somebody, that is what it is. Like, I mean, that's gonna be a problem no matter what.
But that happens every year.
Yeah,
it does, but that's not really what this is for. This is more for the like incidental glancing shot, not just leading with the crown and blowing somebody up. Because I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. That's literally running your head into a brick wall. But I mean, the thing about it is when you hear kind of reports from the players, they're like, yeah, those things popped off all the time in practice anyway. Right. So you mean to tell me that in practice, where you're not full speed, certainly not game speed, those things are popping off. You think those things are not going to be a problem during the season on your head? Plus,
I'm popping mine off and throwing it at somebody. Hey, my fault, Ray.
Plus, they're rippled, right? So say they do stay on, like that could potentially do some weird head action too, right? So I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I think it's dumb. I haven't talked to anybody that thought this was a good deal. And, you know, at the end of the day, again, what they're going to have to paint logos and stuff on them, right? Because otherwise, why have these flashy helmets if you have, you know, balloon head on top of it?
They just look terrible.
It's bad. Yeah.
It like I was just having to read the article real quick. It just looks.
Well,
like
and it was funny when I saw it reported. It said approved for game use, and I thought for sure that it was like reading the memery or something like that, right? I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you got me. And then I saw it was Adam Schefter, and I'm like, maybe his account's hacked or somebody like cloned it or something. So then I went on a different platform to Schefter, and he had it reported on every single platform he's on. I was like, oh no, that's a real thing.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No. I'm gonna drink some coffee now and think about my life.
Oh man.
I don't want that in my life.
Well, on that note, we're gonna get our commercial break and then be right back for the second half of the show. Maybe. Here we go.
This is Reggie Jones, owner and founder of Air Sports Academy. Air is based on the 4 core principles: heart, education, integrity, resiliency. Air is about developing student athletes physically and mentally through training, mentorship, and effective marketing. We've created a platform and a blueprint for our state to shine in the brightest of lights. I created this program because it was a need for our state. We needed to have the light shine on the student athletes in our region, and now that is happening at an all-time and undeniable rate. We created a lane for the kids in our state to get their college education paid for and set their families up for future success. We created an environment where serious athletes can now come compete fearlessly. We've achieved this through our variety of elite programs. Our 6-month off-season program, where first-year starters or seasoned vets can all come develop. Our 5-on-5 program, which is all about our line. Our youth tackle program, which is the first and only youth tackle team from the state of Washington to ever win a major national championship. Our 7-on-7 program, which is ranked top 10 in the country every year. Our high school 11-on-11 club tackle program, which creates a unique and much-needed opportunity for our kids. Our college prep program, which allows our graduates to come back from college and prepare for the upcoming season. Our track and field program, which creates an opportunity for our young air boys and air girls to continue to get faster. When you're a national program, you receive national respect, which is why when you look at recruiting boards and top player lists from around the country, you'll always find players from Air on those lists. Which is why college coaches from some of the most prestigious schools around the country come into our facility to recruit our players. The Penn State, Alabama, Oregon, Stanford, Florida State, the list goes on. Our players are being recruited, offered, and committing to some of the top schools in the nation. The experience our players and families receive is second to none. We offer a competitive brand of sports at Air. We are the ball. And with that comes great responsibility. Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
All right. You know, the best part about commercial break is, I get a second cup of coffee.
Yes.
That's the problem with not having, an entire staff, right? Like a producer and that like runs and grabs your coffee for you.
Yes.
Man, someday.
Maybe if you had spent money on the staff instead of the waterfall, you would have all these.
Hey, you know what?
Wow.
Shots fired. But I don't have a waterfall. I just have a lowly creek.
Oh, just a creek. He downgraded. He went from the waterfall to the creek so he could afford a little more coffee.
I see what you're selling, but we're not buying that, brother. You got your own creek and your own sunset, pal. I ain't trying to hear nothing you're talking about. Listen to Raj. I'm with you, Raj. I need to do that as well. My commercial game is not good.
All right. So, I mean, we'll probably have to kind of hustle through this section, but, I guess we'll approach it a little different than I was originally going to. So we were going to talk a little bit about grading the draft and how teams did. Obviously, there's no way we're getting through all of these, all the teams before the end of the show. But, what teams stood out in your mind, good and bad? Like what was probably your highest graded guy or your graded team, your lowest graded team, and then of course how it is your team did.
So not my team, but I kind of like what Detroit did, but it is a little more personal. I thought they had addressed defense. I thought it was a big thing. They got Terrion Arnold. That run on offensive players just helped all the teams at the back end who needed defenders go, oh, I don't have to do anything special to get the guy I wanted in the first place. So I kind of like that. I kind of like what Detroit did and doubling down against some cornerback to get their guys. So I was happy with them. The teams that surprised me, I mean, I don't know how much you want to talk about Atlanta, but that was just.
Let's talk about Atlanta. Like I figured that was going to be everybody's.
I did want to bring it up, but I am to make it fair. I listened to an Atlanta Falcons podcast, and that guy spent like 2-3 days just going. I mean, he was just like. Why are we paying all this money? And, I've got a friend who posted, and he was like, look, in 3 years from now, when Penix is out there doing great, y'all are going to regret all this. And I love Penix as a player. I've said that before. It has nothing to do with sometimes we say, hey, this is a bad pick. It has nothing to do with the player. It has to do with the situation. Atlanta is more of a win now mode. They needed to fix the defense.
It has to do with where.
Yeah.
It has to do with where they pick, right?
Yeah.
Like it would, if he was a second rounder, you'd be like,
oh, yeah,
this makes total sense. Right.
Yeah.
But for number 8, those dudes are supposed to start. That's why you get them at the top of the first round. Right.
Yeah.
And if, I kept hearing things like, oh, we loved Penix. Right. So it's like, okay, well, if that was your plan anyway, why not go sign a guy like Drew Lock?
Yeah.
Right. Who can start for, the first 4 or 5 games. And then you bring Penix in and whatever, right? Because it's not like Penix is 22.
Right.
Right. So when you hear Atlanta saying, oh, yeah, he might sit for 4 or 5 years, dude will be almost 30.
Yeah.
You don't want him to have a meaningful snap in the NFL till he's almost 30. Like, what are we even talking about right now? Right. So, I knew Atlanta was definitely coming up just because that first pick, although I don't hate the pick because I like Penix, probably throws the best ball in this draft overall. The timing of the pick is what was curious about it because you just signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $120 million deal or 180 or whatever it was. I know 90 of it's guaranteed, but most of that guarantee is the next 2 years. Right. So maybe there was some sort of plan there. You're so used to Atlanta being not great, so you just kind of assume that there wasn't a plan. But maybe there was. Maybe they're fine with spending $50+ million on Kirk Cousins for 2 years.
Right, and not improving your defense. That's fine.
Yeah, no, it's totally
fine. In a winnable division. So, it's whatever.
It felt like there was no plan. That's
I'm
going to go on record.
You can go ahead and say it. Thank you. Somebody had to say it.
All the non-contrarians. I'm like,
I agree.
A plan here.
It doesn't look like it. I'm just saying maybe there was.
All of us were shocked when he got the money. It was like 180 with 100 guaranteed. We were all like, oh, wow. Yeah. Coming off an injury like that. Wow, great. Okay, so the Falcons should be set now. They can start addressing other areas.
Right.
And lo and behold,
specifically.
They go to pick 8, and they decide to pick a quarterback that probably might have ended up going in the in the late first or later and picked him at 8. And I'm like, wow. So Kirk Cousins just ticked off. I mean,
Oh, yes.
Yes, but
and he should be. So the only argument I can really make for Atlanta here is because Kirk is coming off of that injury, right? And he's almost 40. So you don't know exactly what he's going to be because it's not like he was a runner anyway, right? So does this make him less athletic than he was? Because, I mean, that might be a problem. Plus, it happened late enough in the year, he may not be ready for week 1. So then say you have Penix, right? And Kirk Cousins isn't ready week 1. You throw Penix out and Penix is good.
Then you're screwed.
Right? Now you have a real problem because you're paying Kirk Cousins $50 million and you're going to leave him on the bench. Like there's no way you're going to bring the rookie back out if he's out there balling and winning.
Sure, this is Atlanta, remember?
Yeah.
Like you said, this is Atlanta.
Okay. So they might.
the one thing I want to know that I can't validate right now is the terms of his contract. Does he have a Daniel Jones kind of contract going? Like after the second year, he gets to get the a cap friendly and kind of opt out of it? Because if you don't have that with this, if you do, that's a great thing. Then they already said that Penn probably need another year or 2 for his development, whatever that means. So if they have that kind of contract with Kirk Cousins, that's a good thing. That means in year 2, that'll be his final year theoretically. Penix will be ready. You can go ahead and unload the rest of that cap, from Cousins and get Penix going. If it's that kind of contract, it's actually a great idea.
So from what I understand it is. So 90 million of it is guaranteed over the first 2 years. And then the only guaranteed money is 10 million of it in the third year, but there's opt-outs after the second year. So it is essentially that is he's guaranteed 90 over the first 2, and then nothing is really guaranteed after that. Okay. So that's why I say, I mean, maybe there was a plan. It didn't feel like it in the moment, right? But yeah, I mean, it was. You're just like, wait, what? It was kind of fun though. I was at a Seahawks watch party, right? That was it was put on by the Hawks here in Seattle, and there was a kid sitting across from me, and when they were on the clock, he's like, "Oh, they're going to take Penix, right?" And this kid's, I think he's like 10 or 12, something like that. And the rest of us at this table, they're like, "There's no way. Why would they take Penix? They just signed Kirk Cousins for $180 million." And then, Penix comes off the board, and we're like, "Wait, what?"
That was his cousin. You didn't know it.
Everybody is shocked. That's that'll slightly change my grade a little bit, but that's the contract is like that. Good idea, then that's probably a good thing. Just get up in age, so that does make some sense.
That's the thing, is the way Kirk Cousins' contract is put together. It's like, okay, and I mean, they had to do that anyway. You're coming off a major injury that you don't know how you're going to heal from, right? So, but then at the same time, why do you sign him?
Right.
Why wouldn't you go? Like, if Penix was your ultimate goal, you're in striking distance to do that. You were in position to get one of the top 6 quarterbacks, no matter what.
Right.
And all of a sudden,
Bo is so elite. I don't even know why I'm even here. Yeah. So, why am I even here? All this fan love for Bo. I'm like, why am I even here?
Killing me, Smalls. Killing me.
The spotlight is hurting my eyes.
Oh my goodness.
But seriously though,
no lies were told, Raj. No lies were told.
No, Raj was spot on 100%.
How do I block?
Here's the challenge. Here's the challenge, and we discussed this now about Penix and his injury history. So who they going to give? Who they going to draft next? Yeah. Because if his
injury history and age, like you pointed out, those two just kind of work against you drafting a guy. Like, I mean, piggybacking your point, to sit for a couple more years. Like, that's just not.
That's my concern on it. Like, his injury history, I don't mind as much, right? Because ACLs pop. No, because of the type, right? Like Tua bothered me because of the types of injuries he was getting. He had, when you look at Penix, he had a couple of season-ending injuries for sure, but one of them was a non-contact. Those happen. We watched a ton of them happen on the field this last year, right? The one before that, he was kind of a run-first quarterback, right? And got hit, took out that ACL. So, I mean, though ACLs don't bother me the way they used to. Like, they used to miss an entire season no matter what, and then you may not be that same guy. ACLs and stuff now are such a routine repair, I guess. The guys come back from that and they're fine. So those don't bother me as much as they used to. But when you're talking about like a guy like Tua who's gotten tons of concussions and stuff like that worries me, right? So it doesn't bother me so much. But that being said, because he's older than most of the guys in the draft, you're telling me you want him to sit for 2 to 5 years? Like, what are we even talking about right now? Like, you literally have a guy that, I mean, not only just that, but you'd be at the end of his contract. Right. So it's not even like you're like, oh, he's the guy of the future. You'd still be moving on. Like, why'd you pick this guy up?
Right. But you're kind of almost like where you were with Jordan Love, getting towards the end and you haven't got a proper evaluation to see if you want to pick him, kind of where Justin Fields got starts though. So I can't say that. But yeah, Jordan Love, I guess, would be my biggest comp for that. You draft a guy, he sits, and then at the very end, you're like, I really hope you play well this 1 year because we don't have any clue what we're going to do with you otherwise.
Yep. But they changed OCs a lot in Chicago under around Fields, right? They had multiple OC changes, right?
They did. I mean, and they're realistically probably going to do that one more time with Caleb.
Yeah, so that part didn't help Fields' development either. Atlanta's going to stay at the bottom of this draft grade thing. I don't know where they are, but they're going to be at the bottom. They're going to be somewhere in that D+ category.
I mean,
well, every draft mock had you taking a defender and trying to win the division, and you take another offensive player, and it's just like that's all your draft capital for like the last 3 or 4 years. We're just taking offensive players.
They got five. They got 5 guys on defense, but it's like it's not. I guess it doesn't have the same.
So there's a few of them that are going to have bad grades, right? Because it's not like the Broncos were awesome, right? Like the Broncos draft wasn't anything special. Like that quarterback room doesn't excite me at all. The other one that was really
came with Knicks and Franklin. I mean, that's going to be the marquee.
Yeah, I mean that. I don't know. That's going to be it. I mean, we're going to watch because wow,
they know each other. They got symmetry, but.
Sure.
I don't know.
The other one that I don't think was very good was the Vikings. Them giving away a bunch of picks to move up one spot to go get JJ. There was no reason to do that. He still would have been there had they stayed where they were. And instead they ended up with a draft where I think they had 3 picks. Right.
Yeah. Well, because they traded up twice, right? To get Dallas Turner also. Wasn't that a trade up as well?
Exactly. So they basically eliminated themselves from the draft. Like they didn't get noticeably better. But that being said, Raj, we will touch on this next week. We are out of time, so let everybody know where they can find you guys.
On all the socials They Call Me Mr. Yu. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Appreciate you guys.
Yep. Herb Raj Podcast on YouTube, Raj Herb on Twitter, X. As he said, like and subscribe.
Yep. And then, of course, if you're watching me here, you are either on my YouTube channel or on Roku. Be sure to stay tuned. We are back on Coast to Coast at 9 a.m. and, of course, on Coach's Corner at 1 p.m. So other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. And otherwise, hang out for the next hour.
Don't go.